in Yu Yu Hakusho and Master Roshi in Dragon Ball series. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Mike McFarlane. So he's been known for Reverend Putty and Mr. Little from Moral Orel, and of course Rugby from the regular show. I said it wrong, did I? Orel? Oral. Moral Oral, right. And of course Rugby from the regular show, and he told America to get a Barack. It's Bill Sayers! And our final guest was Perceptor from Transformers the original series, Colonel Roy Campbell from Metal Gear, Max Tennyson in Ben 10, and the narrator of the Diablo game, the one, the only, Mr. Paul Lanning! Alright, where's one of my little minion people?
Check.
One of my minions. You. Dude with the hair and the beard, come in.
You with the face.
Go grab that microphone, and if any of these lovely people have a question, walk up and down towards it. Be careful, it's got a cord on it. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Morning, everybody. How you guys doing? Wow.
Nice cosplay. Yeah, we're talking about you.
I thought you meant me because I was like, this is my normal stuff.
Oh, you dress like that all the time?
Mostly. They mostly come out at night. Mostly.
Now, this is a story all about... No, stop it. So, if you've got a question for any of our panellists, put your hand up. What's your name, sir? Thomas. Thomas will come up to you with the microphone. You may have to go and meet him in the middle, meet halfway. It's called compromise. Men learn about it now. It's hooked underneath that thing you might have
that must be a Kiwi word. We don't have that in the United States. Compromise?
Compromise?
Compromise.
No.
It's one of those words like surrender.
What's that?
We just don't.
Oh.
Yeah. Negotiate. Yeah.
Reason.
And so, do we just start with questions, or is that what? Empathize.
Well, while we're waiting, let's probably start with the generic question, and it's probably a question I know you guys have probably been asked 1,000 times, so feel free to jazz it up if you want to. 6? Yeah. Oh, really? A night? So the first question would be, how is it that you guys found yourselves in the voiceover industry? Or what was the path that led you guys to the profession that you are all part of now?
The boring answer is an audition, and the expanded answer is lots of auditions. No. I've studied acting since I was in elementary school, grade school, that kind of stuff. Kind of went flip-floppy with that in my interest in music as well for quite some time, and then was rejuvenated into acting in late high school and going into college. Did local plays, studied theater, did all that sorts of stuff, and started doing voiceover type things for industrials, which are really boring films of like when you buy something and they tell you how to use it. Like that's an industrial. The new Canon XL17, like that great crap. And radio spots and things of that nature. And then animation-wise, I had my first audition with Funimation in 1997, and I booked my first ever audition with them, and that was the role of Master Roshi. Strangely enough, so straight out of the gate, I got the Dragon Ball gig, and I still do that gig, so that's the oldest gig that I have. It's like 19 years of doing that particular character. Yeah, so audition and training. Boring. Wasn't discovered in the grocery store.
That voice, I have to have it. Yeah, very sort of similar. I also started acting when I was young, started doing plays when I was 15, got my BFA, etc., etc. Over the years, I would do the occasional VO gig because it would be connected to a theater company I'd be working at. You know, somebody on the board would have a business they'd want someone to do a commercial for or something. But I never really thought of it as a career path. And then flash forward many, many years later, and a buddy of mine, Scott Adsid, who the title voice in Big Hero 6, also on 30 Rock, played the part of producer Pete Hornberger, really funny man, Second City dude. He co-created a show called Moral Oral for Adult Swim, and they had the whole first season in the can, and they weren't happy with one of the voices, the voice of Reverend Putty, and he asked me to come in and read for it. And I knew that animation was a tiny, tiny community, and I knew that there was no way I was going to book it, so I wasn't remotely nervous, so I booked it. And then from there, I was, you know, that legitimized me. I was able to get an agent. And my big gig now, regular show, was by audition. I didn't know anybody involved with it, so yeah, I highly recommend it. It's a fun thing to do.
And for me, I started out as a race car driver. I drove Formula One for many years when I was in my teens. And then I got tired of that. It was kind of boring, so I thought I'd get, nah, I'm just kidding. I'm an actor. I started out doing theater. It's my first love. Did improv for a couple of years in a place called the Brave New Workshop, which is like Second City type of improvisation, like Saturday Night Live sort of stuff. Did that for a few years and did commercials, voiceovers, that sort of thing, and then moved to Los Angeles to be a nobody again. And had an audition. I did a play where I played 3 characters. I played an African manservant, a Cockney soldier, and a 5-year-old girl. All of this without makeup. The intention was that you know it was a white man playing an African, you know it was a man playing a little girl. A play called Cloud 9. And a director at Hanna-Barbera, came to see it. His name is Gordon Hunt, who is Helen Hunt's father. Helen Hunt, the Academy Award winner. Well, Gordon saw the show, contacted my agent, sent me in, he wanted me to come in and read like 10 or 12 different kinds of characters, different types of characters, from wizards to, you know, bums to stupid people to, you know, whatever. And he started booking me, so I started doing Hanna-Barbera things. I'm a Smurf. I get to do Flintstones and all those kinds of things, the Jetsons, way back in the day. And then the Transformers happened, again, an audition. This is back in 84, 85. And then one thing just led to another, So you start getting known, and you still have to audition, but it starts building on itself. And from that, then video games started happening. Back in the late 90s with Diablo and Metal Gear and all the different video games. So thank goodness we still have them fooled and they keep hiring us. Yes. Yeah, it's amazing. And just, I feel just really lucky, really blessed. And fun. Yo.
Hey, a couple of questions. Mike.
Hey.
Do you have any idea when you guys are going to be dubbing Super?
Man, you're the first person to ever ask me that about Dragon Ball Super. Everybody heard this Dragon Ball Super? I'm just kidding. I have no news, and it's not like a situation where I signed some sort of non-disclosure agreement and I can't tell you. I actually do not know. Like, I don't know. I have no news about it. So hopefully we will. I know it's out there. I know it exists. I know that we would all like to do it, but I have zero news about it.
Have you watched it at all?
I have not watched it at all. I try not to watch something unless I know for sure it's a lock and I'm doing it. And then even then, I'm going to watch it when I go in to record anyway. So if I do a lot of, with ADR, if you do a lot of prep, it doesn't actually serve the actor very well. You might be a little bit more aware of what the story is and what's going on, but then you kind of have a notion of what it is that you'd like to do when you go in, and the director may not see it that way, and it is not your job to tell the director how it should happen. So, yeah, I try to go in fresh.
Thanks. And Paul, question. 5 days ago, David Hayter said in a tweet, "Colonel, what is the meaning of this? Why am I back in this booth?" And he tweeted you. What are you guys working on?
All right. Are there any other Metal Gear fans? Anybody know the game Metal Gear? Okay. Well, David Hayter did a very bad thing. David blew up Twitter. We've got probably 2,000 retweets and YouTube channels popping up saying, "Okay, what's really going on here? What's, you know, the Colonel and Snake are back together again." We were back together for the one day as the Colonel and Snake. And what it was, I think I can talk about it now. It's a, maybe I can't talk about it yet. All I can say is that it, no, I didn't sign an NDA. Okay, Ford does this program called Overdubs. They did it with Dragon Ball.
Oh, you did the fourth thing.
That's what it was.
Ah,
It's
cool.
a niche thing, and it starts out with Colonel Campbell saying, "Snake, today's briefing is of the utmost importance." And he says, "Yes, what is it, Colonel?" And then and it goes on from there. And I talk about one of the vehicles.
Yeah.
And so when we didn't work together, I went in at 10:30, he went in at 12:30. So I wasn't going to see him, but he's a buddy, so I wrote on the script. I said, "Snake, I love you, man, Colonel." So he took a picture of, not that part, but he took a picture of the top of the script saying it's a Kodak call, and then posted that, and then also sent me a message saying, "I think we're going to blow up Twitter, I'm sorry." And in the meantime, I had also asked him to do, I challenged him to do the Shakespeare Insult Challenge. Because the theater company that I belong to, and Armin Shimmerman, and God, who else has been over here? Kitty Swink, and yeah, tons of actors all aboard this company. We're trying to build a new theater. So you challenge people. So I challenged David. So he did all this. Anyway, that's what it's about. It's not about us getting back together. We would love that, but that's never going to happen. Not with Kojima and Konami the way things are. It'll never happen. It's heartbreaking because that game means so much to all of us, you know. But thanks for the, and you're the first. It's the first time I'm telling anybody about it. So hopefully I'm not in trouble.
Thanks for answering.
Those sports spots are fun. Those guys are very creative. Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
Mr. McFarlane,
Yes.
I was, sorry, I'm not very good at speaking out loud.
Same here.
A friend and I were both wondering if you're going to voice John in the next season of Attack on Titan.
I don't see why not. I mean, that's another thing, like, that doesn't even exist yet. Like, it only exists in manga form.
It should exist.
I know. I would like it to, too. I think it's quite some time between the first chunk and the second chunk, don't you? Like, we've waited long enough. But hopefully that will come out soon, at some point, and everybody will shake the right hands and will sign the right paperwork and whatever else, which would allow me to do that. So until all that happens, I don't really know what to say, but I don't think it would suddenly be, if Funimation licensed it again, it would be like, everybody except Mike, he's not going to do that part anymore. I think they would have all the same people, so.
Can you do his voice as well, please?
Can I do what?
Can you do his voice as well, please?
Oh, as well, let's see. What is it, Aaron? Mikasa's so hot.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm an English and drama teacher, and I have a lot of students who take drama because it's the only avenue they've got through school to be able to do the voice work, but they're actually very not interested in the performance in front of other people.
Yeah.
The voice is one of the areas that I have a little bit more difficulty teaching because I have a certain accent and I can't change it and all those kind of things. What's some of the advice I can give my students on working on their voice and, you know, how to sort of go into the voiceover field and that kind of thing?
I'm sure all of us have some sort of input on that. I'll start off. First off, the big shock to them would be that if they're like, I don't want to be in front of a bunch of people, I just want to act or else, it's so much more nerve-wracking for you to just have 2 or 3 people all staring at you, praying that you don't suck. That is way more nerve-wracking. So everyone's like, oh, it's going to be so much better when I'm in this tiny dark room and no one's watching me and I can do all this acting. That's not true at all. It's totally not true. It's just as nerve-wracking, if not more so.
There are people on the other side of that glass.
Yeah. And what will happen frequently, they're like, you'll acting, doing something impressive, and you wait for the, cool, hang on just a minute. Okay, can you give me one more, and, you know, that's what we just did, that makes you freak out, especially if it's your first time with those people. You don't know what they want. So it is not easier to do it that way. Beyond that, as far as like what you can do, I took a voice and diction class. I thought that was quite helpful. I've taken and continue to take in some capacity a lot of improvisation. Studied with some Second City guys, and some Groundlings guys, and some improv Olympic people, things like that. What that does for you is it allows you to make a choice to be someone, or someone says you're a fireman and you're Irish, or whatever. You are this right now and you have to do it right now. You can't prep, you can't do anything, you must do it. So you have to accept that that is your state of being, and you just decide to be that, whoever it is. That introduces you to a lot of different personalities and a lot of different voices and a lot of different other things that you could do. That's my 2 cents on that. I know we got some more answers here for that.
I co-sign everything Mike said, and we'll double down on the theater, because to me, to try to go into something specific, thanks man, to try to go into something specific like VO, not having trained as an actor is like, you know, a soldier going into combat without doing basic training. The best training you will get for any type of acting is theater training, because it requires you to be in the moment, to keep the material in your mind, to make choices. It's the basic building block of everything. So I would encourage those kids to go ahead and do that. Also, I would encourage them to try to learn how to not have their native dialect, because I went to school in a little town called Pawhuska, Oklahoma, and yeah, and my natural dialect is kind of like this. You know, my friends call me Bill, but back home it's got 2 syllables, Bill.
Bill, there's a Y in there.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
They like both kinds of music, country and western.
Yes. So you know, obviously, if I was stuck in that dialect, the only work I could do would be regional. And so when you have to be able to kind of get to a place of neutral, and hopefully even be able to take on other dialects and other regionalisms, so that you can, you know, represent other parts of the world. But yeah, and the other thing is, as Mike was saying about the improv, our job, most of the time, requires picking up copy we've never seen before and making sense of it immediately. So they have to have a familiarity with the written word and translating that into the spoken word, and they have to be able to do it at a moment's notice.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10 when we go into the booth, we don't get the script ahead of time. We get it when we walk in, and you've got to make those choices. Technically, there are some things they can do to change what's happening to the voice, and that is just placement in the head. A placement in the mouth, in the throat, where the placement is in the body. Because if you bring the voice forward, you're going to sound differently than if you leave it back there in the back. Just technical things will help. But the bottom line, I tell everyone, if you want to be a voice actor, be an actor. The best voice actors are the ones who have been trained. So let them know from us that your job, what you're doing, is the most important thing that they can learn.
You know, just a quick quote on something that Mike said. The first time I ever read dialogue for regular show in front of people in that tiny room, I was in that tiny room with Mark Hamill, having met him for the first time. So I was very conscientious about not wanting to waste Mr. Hamill's time. You know, and something like that's a lot.
Yeah, because he's a jerk.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill is just the worst person.
Don't tell him we said that.
No, he's best.
No, he's wonderful. But I mean, something like that's a lot more pressure than being in front of an audience of strangers.
You can't see because of the lights.
Yeah.
That's it? Okay, thank you very much.
No, you don't get away that easy. So, actors often talk about the method, the process. Okay, so you guys are saying that it's the first time you've seen the script. Maybe you've seen the show that you're dubbing beforehand, or maybe not. What's your process, and how do you think it differs when you're preparing, say, for a stage show, or a TV show, or a movie, or whatever, compared to what you're doing as a voice actor?
You do it a hell of a lot faster.
Yeah, with stage, usually with film and television and stuff like that, you will have some sort of completed version of what it is that you're doing from top to bottom. Granted, with television and film, you might wake up that morning like, cool, this scene's entirely different, here are your new pages. But story beginning to end, you get the gist of what's going on. With dubbing, for instance, if you're doing pre-existing material and just putting it into another language, the other, the example of what you could look at or could do is out there, but as I mentioned earlier, if you get too much of an idea of what it is you want to do, then you and the director might clash heads, and you as the actor, you are absolutely wrong, in my opinion. You may have the character wouldn't do this, the character wouldn't do that, or whatever. They may know more than you do. Maybe the character's going through a change. Maybe there's a whole bunch of things that are happening. You don't have the complete story. You don't have the complete process, and the director should. The director does. So the prep that I have to do as far as continuing on is just be aware of what I've done thus far. They'll have a nice reference track for me to get back into voice, whatever, I frequently have 2 reference tracks, what we started out as and what the last thing that we did was. So if we're comfortable where we started with and we start to drift, we can hear it, we can just totally just fix it as we keep going until we get into a nice sweet spot. But it's my job to be a malleable piece of a material for the director to put every little piece of everything and to make this beautiful picture of the complete story.
Yeah, again, I completely agree. There's some basics in that you learn in first year acting, like what do I say? What does my character say about himself? What do others say about me? What does the playwright say about me? All those things come into play when you're doing VO. You just have to be able to absorb them and catch on a lot quicker. And then, as Mike said, you have to be malleable because you're ultimately responsible for for executing someone else's vision. And you want to bring creativity, but you also want to bring an open mind.
Yeah, and with voiceover versus on camera or on stage especially, everything has to be heightened. Everything has to be pumped up just a little bit. Otherwise, the character is not going to shoot through that microphone and come to and hit the ear like a real character. So it's got to be pumped up just a little bit. It can't be just the way we're talking right now, because generally it's boring.
Right, yeah. For me, when I hear people say they want to hear more real acting, it should be more real. It should always be real boring. That's what, they don't know that they're asking for that, but what you're asking me to do is make it uninteresting. Yeah.
I remember I got an audition and they usually get a little, either you get a picture of the character that you're going to audition for, or they'll have backstory. There are times when you'll have 2 pages of backstory, and you'll have 1 line to say. That's it. And somehow you're supposed to get 2 pages of backstory into the 1 line. But I wouldn't go there. This is after you've been told that the character's lost his brother, and and his mother drowned in chocolate, whatever. But sometimes you'll get a picture. You got to just go off with whatever you see. Does it have an underbite, an overbite? Is there something you want to go against type? Yeah. It's all those kinds of things. You have to make those choices right away, and just have fun with it.
and I'm not sure about you guys, but sometimes I think when they, because I've seen those multiple page backstory things, and sometimes I just think they take a map out of geography and just play darts with it. Really, you know, he was born in Iceland, but he has a Russian father and he has an Irish mother, and he was actually raised in South Africa, and these all would have an impact on his voice. I'm like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? What is that all about? I'll give you something, but what impact does that have on the story? Why did you do that to that person?
It's sometimes another one that cracks me up is this sort of generic, like he has a European accent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That narrows it down.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely not doing Idaho. That's straight out.
One of my favorites was we wanted to be. This was for a commercial. They wanted the voice to be the character to be real, but not too. I swear to God, that's what it was. We want the character to be real, but not too.
Yeah.
T-O-O.
What I generally think of when I see things like that, especially with that note specifically, is the people with the money don't know what they want specifically, and they want you to come up with it, but they want through that description they be able to claim it so that they look like geniuses. And that's fine, as long as they get the money, but you know.
You could also, particularly in commercial copy, you get the sentence that you can tell no one's ever spoken out loud.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, the 2016 Condor Velocitor is another fine example of dubious engineering that will take you from beyond to tomorrow in less time than you could, you know, and you're like, I gotta breathe, I gotta breathe.
No, we want that kind of avuncular, okay? You know, we want to be your favorite uncle saying that, okay?
Like you guys sitting down having a conversation at a bar, but with this copy.
Yeah, you're just telling your friend about the new...
Yeah, it needs to be that kind of friendly.
Hi.
Hey.
I just want to know if you guys had a favorite voice that you enjoyed doing.
This one. I enjoy doing his voice. No.
And damn it, he's better at it than I am.
I don't know. I mean, the Master Roshi voice from Dragon Ball is really silly and over the top and ridiculous, and it doesn't sound like my speaking voice at all. So that's kind of fun. But also, I like when I'm booked with something very close to this, because I can put a lot more into it, because I'm used to using this voice a lot more. So I have a lot more range and variety to be able to express emotions and, you know, states of being with this voice. But this voice only gets booked sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's probably no surprise. I love doing Rigby, not just because the voice is different from my own, but not so different that it's a hard reach, but also because I've done him long enough now that I kind of have an inherent sense of what's funny coming out of that character. But I actually prefer the dialogue that's sort of more flat, because so much of what I do is over the top as the character that when they let me get away with sort of a dry delivery, I really enjoy that.
That's a tough one, because if you create a character and it lasts for any length of time, you love the character. You know, and there are times when I can watch things that I've done in the past. I've done it watch Metal Gear or Grandpa Max. There are scenes where I've done in Omniverse, I'm Grandpa Max and I'm Blue Gitch, a little character, an alien. And I watch it and I swear, I forget that it's me. And it's like, wow, I'm watching it, I'm caught up in the story or whatever, and those characters become real. And I love those moments. One of my favorite characters is a character that nobody remembered from a show called Toxic Crusaders, where I played a hideously deformed creature of superhuman size and strength, whose name was No Zone, who flew through a hole in the ozone. He was a test pilot, crashed into a vat of radioactive pepper. It could happen. And he became fused with his airplane, and he had a huge nose, and his superpower was sneezing. And he would sneeze down, you know, forests and all the bad guys. And I loved his voice because it's not a pretty voice to watch because it had to be all sneezy and whatnot. But it was fun to do. You know, it just silly stuff. Some of the over-the-top stuff is really fun.
So this will be our last question because we've got our special guest judges for the Fear Factor competition. So if you want to join the Fear Factor competition, come on down the front, get ready, and that will be our last question. Hello?
Hi.
It's kind of an open secret that you guys say you weren't getting paid enough for the value you provide, voice actors in general.
Are you talking about interactive and specific, or just...
I only know that video games definitely.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a campaign last year, if I remember. Is that getting better, or do we have to complain more for you guys, kind of? Because it really is true, and it really does suck.
I think the jury's still out, isn't it? Like that's still being discussed.
Yeah, we've actually we have authorized we've authorized a strike. It hasn't been called yet. Thank you for asking the question, by the way.
Yeah.
We have not yet called a strike, but a strike has been authorized. It could be literally called any day. If that happens, then one of two things will occur. Either the producers will come back to the table and we'll come to some kind of agreement, or, and this is what we hope doesn't happen, they'll start using non-union voice for their games. And what we were asking fans to do was to let people know that performance matters in video games, and we were literally asking for that hashtag, performance matters, because I was at one of the negotiations where I sat across from the producers' attorneys, and this fellow basically told us that what we did didn't matter. He said that we're not in a good position to ask for things like secondary compensation, because they'll just go out and hire anyone to do it. And of course, we like to think that we bring added value to those games. So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, rather than just anyone could do it. You know, my uncle, he talks. I'll get him to speak all these lines. Why are you so special?
Well, when I started doing Diablo and different games like that back in the 90s, some of the games were done by the programmers, the guys who work behind the scenes. And if you listen to some of the stuff, now, some of the guys were good, but the bulk of it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think video games have gotten much better because you got
I don't know if it's still out there. I'd be interested. I'm gonna have to try to find it. But there used to be a website that you could go to that was nothing but examples of horrible voice performances in video games.
Yes. Oh God, I'm not in any of those, am I?
Yeah, that exists. Yeah, that's a good time.
Excellent. Well, Christchurch, please, big round of applause for our guests, Paul, Bill, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Now, do we have anyone that wants to be part of the Fear Factor competition? We've got 2 people so far. Because if we don't have enough, we'll cancel it.